This is Bad Movies We Love, part of the Shice Podcast Network.
Oh yeah! Hello once again, Bad Movie Lovers. I am your host, Nick Scheist, and thank you for joining me for another episode of Bad Movies We Love.
If you're listening to this, you are the Resistance.
That's right. The Resistance is live, and you can support it by going to ko-fi.com. That's ko-fi/Bad Movies We Love. I was happy to get some feedback and get some episodes lined up thanks to the wish list episode. But today, I'm joined by a friend of the show. You know him as Nix. I know him as Nix. And he's the host, well, the co-host of Cinema Shitshow. And he is the most frequented guest on this show. And he bailed me out last minute by bringing a movie to the table that, you know, should have been closer to my heart probably. But we're talking about the Dino De Laurentiis 1976 King Kong.
The most exciting original motion picture event of all time.
Just in case you didn't hear it the 8 other times, this movie is King Kong.
Dun dun dun.
Kong has spent a lot of time on this island and he's lonely.
Bring the mosquito spray.
Whoopsies!
Was he walking on his tippy toes?
Calls him a chauvinist pig ape.
Like, I'm Jack Prescott.
Jack Prescott having deja vu of these 2 rocks that he saw on this island once.
Somebody spilled some plot convenience on the engine.
I still don't know why the boat exploded.
Turn your brain off at the door.
Like, did he bring a private masseuse with him?
Feel it, feel it.
Bizarre monkey math? What the fuck is estimated monkey time?
When a Kong could die, everybody cry.
Nix, welcome back, my friend. You joined me, saved my ass last minute to hop in here and do an episode on this movie that you brought to my attention. I don't know, it was a couple weeks ago. You had mentioned that you wanted to talk about it. And so fortunately, you were up for it on short notice. And that movie is King Kong from 1976, not the 1933 King Kong. And this is 40-something years later.
Yeah.
Thanks for joining me.
Hey man, I'm always very blessed when you invite me on. Yeah, if we were doing the 33 King Kong, this would be the wrong show.
Yeah.
But yeah, I'd been planning on doing this with another friend of ours, but they kind of went on hiatus. So I was like, hey, I know somebody who would love this kind of movie, so here we are.
Oh, and I did love it because, I mean, this movie, I mean, we're going to get into it, but it's really hard to explain all of the different feelings I went through in this movie, from all kinds of like ridiculousness to being wowed at the innovation and technology that went into it and everything in between. But for the people that are going to listen to this, if you had to fathom a guess as to why this movie would be considered a bad movie, what do you think that reason is?
Well, obviously the first thing is the comparison to the original. It's always going to be compared to that one, and it's going to fail no matter what. I think one of the big reasons was a lot of the like the political stuff that they kind of got into. I think, oil is bad. Women can be strong women. Hippies and environmentalists and da-da-da-da. There was a lot of that going on, and I think maybe that's another thing that people think about. And then of course, probably some of the effects might also be in there.
Hmm. I mean, maybe it bit off a little bit more than it could chew with some of the commentary, at least socially. And I noticed, like, from me in particular, I was like, the dialogue choices are insane in this movie. So we'll get into that in a little bit. But I'm looking at the poster here where King Kong is straddling the two World Trade Center towers. And I believe that this poster was eventually replaced because of the incident with 9/11 and the towers, but this poster says the most exciting original motion picture event of all time. And like, is it unaware that it is not an original event, or was this sort of De Laurentiis, as he was the producer on this, right? Was this his reinvention of this film? Because I don't believe that there was one like direct remake or reboot in between 33 and 76, even though a bunch came after this.
There was a sequel. There was Son of Kong. Toho, of course, I think ended up with the rights and did King Kong versus Godzilla, King Kong Escapes, and all that. But no, there was never an official remake until this one. Those are some pretty baffling words, I have to say, but it sounds like it's coming straight from Dino's mouth.
Oh yeah,
the most exciting original motion picture event of all time.
As I was reading like his direct quotes about this movie, like this man was not short on hyperbole whatsoever. And I think in one of the questions he was answering was from a reporter. They asked him like how big King Kong was going to be. And so he motioned with his hands like as wide as possible, being like, this big, however big, and just like told the guy like however big like you think it's going to be that big.
I think one of the funniest things I remember hearing him say was Jaws had come out and made a huge amount of money. And then he was like, well, when a Jaws die, nobody cry. When a Kong could die, everybody cry.
I mean, he makes a good point in that it is a pretty interesting distinction between the way that like Jaws was successful and why it was successful, and then why a story like King Kong is successful and has its own identity outside of being like a monster movie or a creature feature where the protagonists are sort of just on the receiving end of horror from whatever the monster is in this case. And oddly enough, I mean, it was a year after this that De Laurentiis also produced Orca, which I still think to this day is the best Jaws knockoff.
I'm 100% behind you on that. Orca is a childhood favorite. It's got some amazing effects, for one thing, and some nice gore, and it's got a pretty compelling story, I think, too. That opening shot, we're not reviewing Orca here, but
maybe one day
I'll be there. That opening scene that kind of sets everything in motion between the fisherman and the orca really scarred me when I was a child.
Yeah, I mean, I saw it really young too, and it was probably after Jaws because my mom knew about it, and she was like, "Oh, if you like Jaws, you'll love this." And so we had Orca on VHS, and it's been many, many, many years since I've seen it, but I've seen a lot of the kind of the run-of-the-mill shark bait movies that have come out over the years, and actually now in adulthood that I've learned more about orcas and how they just hunt and demolish great white sharks and eat their liver and let their body die. I realize how much more terrifying orcas are than great whites. And I just saw a video the other day of some like Inuit fishermen out on the ice, and it's like a reaction video, and the guy's sitting there watching it, and he's first of all like, just what are these guys doing in the ice? And then you hear them say, "It's coming." And the guy watching the video is like, what's coming? There's nothing you can see on screen. All of a sudden, you see like the boat rock and turn around, and then like a big black fin sweeps out of the water, and like this orca was on their ass. So those are some scary, scary animals that are super intelligent as well. So we need to start making orca movies again. But in the meantime, we're here to talk about King Kong, and I wanted to ask you too. You had brought this to my attention a couple weeks ago, and you had shown me that you had collected a lot of the paraphernalia is not the right word. That sounds dirty, but a lot of you got all this Kong paraphernalia around the house. But you had collected like the cups, and I think you showed me the soundtrack as well, and some other collectibles. So this was obviously an important film to you, probably at a younger stage in your life, more formative years. But I'm curious, like, when was the first time you saw it? And then before watching it for the purposes of this, like, when was the last time you had seen it?
So the first time I saw this film, they had aired it on television, but it was this huge event. They actually aired it over 2 nights. So each night was like an hour and a half, and then plus commercials. And that's the first way I saw it. So, you'd get to, I think, right when it gets to New York, and then it's like, well, tune in tomorrow.
Oh, wow.
Yeah.
Kong the series.
It was a huge big deal. So we can get into this later, but they had cut in like a bunch of alternate takes and stuff like that didn't make it into the theatrical film in order to stretch it out. I didn't know that as a kid. But I remember my older sister and I at the climax, while more innuendo there, as Kong's on top of the buildings, he's getting shot by the helicopters, blah blah blah. My sister was crying, and she's like 5 years older than me. I made fun of her, and I still to this day apologize to her for that, because as I watched it years later, I'm like, yeah, you know what, that is pretty horrifying and pretty emotional. The last time I watched it for fun was last year when I bought the Blu-ray, because it actually comes with the TV cut, which is pretty cool. But yeah, I've got the vinyl soundtrack that they released back in '76. I've got the 2-disc CD extended soundtrack. Burger Chef at the time had most people aren't going to know what the hell a Burger Chef is, but it was a fast food restaurant, and they had these collectible glasses that you could buy one for 99 cents when you bought your meal or whatever. And I collected all 4 of those throughout the years. I found some at flea markets and whatnot, and I finally got all 4 of those, and I went, now my quest is done. And then I found out there's a 5th glass. That was not part of that. And I had to track that down. I got that. I've got the book, The Making of, that they released back then, which is surprisingly detailed and very clear about the problems and everything that was going on behind the scenes. They do not sugarcoat it at all, which a lot of these making of things that you see nowadays, they're not going to talk about the behind the scenes issues and whatnot. But it's a really fascinating read. And I think that's about everything. I think that's all I got right now.
And was this something where like King Kong was your first, I guess, like in the realm of kaiju movies? Because I know we have talked about Godzilla at length. We did a separate entire episode on a Godzilla film, and we both have a lot of love for that character. So was Kong first or second for you?
That is a good question, man. Because, again, I grew up in the late 70s, early 80s, where all this stuff was on television. Yeah. They don't really do that too often anymore, unless you got Turner Classic Movies. Probably going to have to say that King Kong was probably the first. I remember watching the 33 version and just being absolutely enthralled and believing that this was real, and that kind of sparked my interest in how did they actually do that. King Kong came, or Godzilla came after that, because then that really kicked me into gear, and I'm like, I love giant shit. Make it big, and I'm gonna sit down and watch it.
Yeah, that Texas mentality right there. This was a movie that when I put it on and started watching it, I was like, I have no recollection of this. So I'm fully believing that I've not seen this movie. Then, as we talked about the ending and crying, the ending happens, and I'm like, oh, I definitely remember this because I'm like, this is seared into like my traumatic brain memories of being a child and seeing something horrible happen. And I remembered that scene on the top of the towers very, very well, unfortunately. And it all came flooding back at the end. And I understand Dino was right. When King Kong dies, you're going to cry, or you should, because that's really what this movie is about. It is getting the audience to find sympathy for this giant monster. And I think it's one of the sort of unique challenges of a King Kong story. And we've even seen it in some of the Godzilla films we love, like the original Godzilla, like 85. So seeing how this played out and just like the brutality of the ending as well, like the visual effects were done very well for it. And so I remembered, I was like, oh yeah, this is going to be very bloody, and it was. But I was, I don't know, I was like transported back in time, because it's quite possible that I had never seen like the entirety of this film because it was so long, and at the time that I had watched it, I was like too young to maybe just pay attention to the whole thing. But that scene always stood out to me, and so it was all of a sudden just time warp back to childhood and seeing that all over again. It's powerful stuff, though. It's a very good and sad ending to the film, and it sort of just ends after that. But I like that there's no falling action from that, so to speak, because like, what else can you do? You have such like a powerful ending. There's nowhere to really like go that you can have too much value from. And I see why they didn't make the sequel for this until probably, what was it, 10 years later for King Kong Lives?
Yeah, I believe it was 86 when they finally did that.
That
No,
one I know.
yeah. Yeah, it's hard to not be affected by that ending, and especially if nowadays, now that you're older and you do pay attention to the story and what's going on between Dwan and Kong.
Terrible
It,
name. We'll get to that.
whatever gets you noticed in Hollywood, Nick. Come on.
Uh-huh.
But that's one of the big changes that they made in this story. In the original Kong, he's not really that sympathetic. He's more of a beast of nature. In this one, especially because some of the effects that they use with, the masks on the suit and everything, you could see his emotions and his thoughts and things like that. So yeah, and it's very, very bloody. So you feel every hit, and you're like, for God's sake, please fucking stop doing that.
Yeah, because it goes on for a while. Like, he's bleeding profusely. They're just unloading Gatling gun rounds into him for like a solid 5 minutes. And I mean, obviously he's a big gorilla, so it takes a while to bring him down, but it gives time for Dwan to sort of like plead with him. And I think that is really the tipping point for that scene, is that she's aware that they're gonna shoot him if he puts her down, but it's in his instinct to protect her and get her out of the way that leads to his demise. And so it's like the push and pull of that is very heart-wrenching, and I think it worked really, really well for me, even in a film where throughout a lot of the rest of the film I was like laughing at some of the creative decisions, some of the character choices. I was having like a good, enjoyable time, sort of like watching all of that little stuff that I knew that we were going to be getting into for this, but then to sort of just get gobsmacked and stopped and still have that same emotional response to the end, like, says a lot about the quality of telling a good King Kong story, I think.
And I think you had also mentioned that it's kind of long. I think it's
Yeah.
2 hours and 20 minutes almost.
Mm-hmm.
And how long was Peter Jackson's? 3 hours, maybe?
That's a good question. I don't want to look right now.
But yeah, they spend a lot of time getting to the island, and a lot of people complained about that, about the Peter Jackson one. I'm like, they pretty much do this here, but it's mainly so that you can get to know the characters, even though some of them are pretty cardboard, you know. And there's some great actors in here. We've got Charles Grodin. He's the real standout. We've got Jeff Bridges, Jessica Lange in her very first her film role.
Mm-hmm.
There's other people that you see them, as well. But I mean, those three were the big ones.
Yeah, and Ed Lauter, who is Carnahan, is a great character actor, and you've probably seen him in a million things. But yeah, the Peter Jackson movie also was 3 hours, 7 minutes long.
Okay. So we had it good in 76 then.
And we did. I mean, I guess there's a reason I haven't gone back and watched the Peter Jackson version, although I did like it at the time. I remember enjoying it, but it's been so long since I've seen it, and it's such a long movie that I guess I've just never decided to circle back to it. But that movie, too, has a fantastic cast, so.
And also kind of does the same thing that this movie just a more humanized Kong and made you really feel for him. People complain about the ice skate rink scene. I think it's beautiful. It's absolutely beautiful.
Yeah, and I think, at least in reading about what De Laurentiis was saying with this, is that he was set on making it modern, where, if I'm not mistaken, the Jackson film goes back to the 1930s era, to set the story. But it does, it lends itself to sort of the visual aesthetic that you're looking for when Kong arrives in New York, for that sort of like the romanticized old New York, where this movie doesn't really feature that at all. And it's not even in New York all that long. If I recall correctly, it's maybe like the last half hour or so.
Yeah, right around there. Yeah, this was not a direct remake. He wanted to bring it into the current day. Whether that was the best, I think that's probably the best idea, especially when you're dealing with De Laurentiis, man. I mean, I can't see him doing a full period piece and trying to get the effects done, because, as we'll probably talk about, the effects behind this movie are a clusterfuck, mainly.
They are indeed. And we are going to get to that for sure. But right now, let's go back in time and look at this trailer and see what our friend Dino here wanted to do with how he wanted to present King Kong to a new audience. And I mean, what's funny is that, even in the last 20 years, right, the way that sort of film fans have come up in a more modern era. I think it was Seth that had posted a question the other day, who knows of the movie Frailty? And I was like, well, we obviously do. We covered it for the film club.
Right.
I knew that movie coming out of high school, and it was still a movie where it wasn't necessarily like a box office draw, but it had a good cast. It featured, Matthew McConaughey at a time where he was on the rise. Bill Paxton was a household name. So it wasn't a movie that was meant to be like a sort of small release indie darling that got its legs over time. It's a movie that was made to make money in the theaters, and from what I recall, it didn't do poorly. It wasn't considered a bomb or anything, but just to see that from 2001 to 23, the overwhelming majority of people did not know what the movie was. So it was a little surprising to me. So just to compare that to this, you're talking about 40 years between the original King Kong and 1976. And the character and the film, in terms of just pop culture and stuff, was probably permeated pretty well into the culture at that point. So if you were a kid who, had never seen the original, you were probably still fairly aware of what King Kong was, I would say. And De Laurentiis was in an interesting position to have to tell the story, but make it his own in a way that stood out from this iconic pop culture character that had existed for 40 plus years before he made this film. And so, like you said, I think it was a good decision for him to not go back and try to sort of replicate the original and make it a period piece, but to own it and make it present and do it in the now. So let's go ahead and take a look at that trailer. If I can find the screen sharing button. Before we get to the trailer, it's time for a quick word from our sponsor. I go to the movies by myself all the time, and it's wonderful. Unfortunately, doing things by yourself has recently become the target of shaming. Online, in person, and even in the media. Well, now you can really stick it to those whiny shits and weird them out even more with Cuddle Kong, the oversized stuffed gorilla for adults. Take Kong to the movies, take him to dinner. You can even dress him up and take him in the carpool lane, but shh, you didn't hear that from me. Each Cuddle Kong is made with real leather and authentic Argentinian horsehair layered over a flexible, motorized endoskeleton, so it looks and moves like a real gorilla. It also comes with fully articulated limbs, so you can pose him however you want. And if that wasn't enough, Cuddle Kong is built with the latest AI neural net processor that allows it to observe the environment, learn, and react appropriately to anyone who may try to shame you. The algorithm studies facial expressions and replicates the most lifelike emotional cues. Just one look from a pissed-off gorilla is sure to stop a bully dead in their tracks. So, order your Cuddle Kong today. Because having a life-size stuffed human would be too weird. And now, back to the show. All right, let's rock and roll.
Also, the soundtrack is great.
It is 1976. The American merchant vessel Petrox Explorer has just set sail from the port of Surabaya in search of oil. What they find will shock the world.
We may be sailing into the history books.
There's Grodin.
You know, maybe my luck has changed.
They will discover an uncharted island that is the home of the most incredible creature on the face of the earth.
Really great visuals, too, in this film.
Called Kong.
Yeah, there's a lot that really works.
Yeah, not just the set stuff, which we'll get to, but sort of the landscape cinematography in terms of establishing scale was very well done.
Presents the most exciting original motion picture event of all time.
Oh, there's that tagline again.
King Kong.
Nice.
King Kong, a fantastic.
Don't hit that thumb too hard.
Open the gate.
Seems like the trailer should have ended there.
Yeah, right.
King Kong.
Really giving away the game here.
Yeah. Instead, they just keep saying King Kong.
What's his name?
I think it was Godzilla. Oh, no, there it is. King Kong.
With Jeff Bridges, Charles Grodin, and introducing Jessica.
Carl Grodin?
Charles, baby.
Tom the Beast. And starring.
Can't get his
the
name
eighth
right, but
wonder
King
of the
Kong.
world, King Kong.
He's going to say it at least one more time.
Gotta be at least one more time. Sounds like I heard some Godzilla creatures in the background, too, and the sound effects.
Oh, you didn't say it one more time, damn it.
Surprising. You know, he dropped it on us however many times. But he didn't close it out with, just in case you didn't hear it the 8 other times, this movie is King Kong. Starring Charles Grodin.
Carl Grodin. Jimmy Smits. Now, for a long time, I thought that the roar of the shark in Jaws the Revenge was the Kong roar, but it is not. But they did sound very similar. It's completely irrelevant, but there we go.
Yeah, well, it sounded like I heard some Godzilla character. I don't know if it was maybe like the sort of like Anguirus squeal when he's getting hurt, or when he's just, you know, he's got that like high pitched kind of like whiny string sound. It sounded like I heard it in the background there too. So who knows what, you know, recycled sound effects they use there. But the sound effects for that did get reused in something else, but I guess it wasn't Jaws. I was reading about it, but it escapes me now. So if I have time to look during the course of this conversation, maybe I'll just throw that tidbit in there. But let's start with, I want to say Jessica Lange, because there in the trailer, we see her talking about, oh, my luck is going to change. But what they don't tell us is that she was on a yacht, and apparently it was a big porno party because they were watching Deep Throat and the yacht exploded for some reason. And she ends up in the only lifeboat as the only survivor. And so I started thinking, like, why make the specific reference to Deep Throat? Why all of these particular types of clues? And it seems like, from what I read, that the implication was that she was on her way to becoming a porno actress, and it was this detour, catalyzed by the explosion of the yacht and the death of everybody that she knew on that boat, that sent her into the arms of this young Princeton scientist and his King Kong expedition.
Okay, so the implication is that she met a man who told her he was going to, get her into movies, make her a movie star. Mm-hmm. I'm sorry to say, she's a fucking airhead. She's not the brightest tool in the shed.
No, her character is not written with intelligence at the forefront.
No, so she ends up on that yacht thinking that, hey, yeah, I'm going to schmooze with these people. I'm going to start my career. They start watching Deep Throat because, well, it was the biggest porn movie ever made. That was a mainstream film. It made, I don't know how many millions of dollars at the time or whatever, but it was huge. Like, normal people, I would say. Not that watching porn's wrong, I love it, but like regular people were going to see this porn movie. So of course I think that's why they would bring it up. But yeah, she was misled. But I really like that, she got so kind of disgusted by the fact that they were watching Deep Throat, which I can only imagine was going to lead to some kind of swinger orgy or something like that she went up on the deck by herself and was hopefully going to reconsider what she was going to do with her life. And then, yeah, the yacht explodes. Somehow she ends up in a dinghy. If we want to continue the innuendo, I think dinghy is much better than life raft. And she's just floating out there and happens to get picked up by the oil company.
Because Jeff Bridges with his supervision can see the raft out there, even though the guy with the binoculars who's on lookout duty doesn't see it. Bridges runs over and makes sure that he sees it. But like, she keeps referencing her friend Harry, who was the guy who's going to put her in movies, and then if I'm reading this correctly, Harry Reams was the star of Deep Throat, so it would all add up that it was in fact his boat out there, and there was something that was about to happen on that boat that she, avoided. But I still don't know why the boat exploded, but I imagine there was a huge party probably going on that particular boat, maybe some cocaine being passed around, and maybe not the wisest choice in captainship for that boat either. But as she
somebody spilled some plot convenience on the engine.
Oh yeah, big time. Whoopsies. We need a reason for her to be out here in the middle of the ocean. Well, the boat explodes, obviously. There's just too much porn on that boat. At the time, wasn't it still like celluloid film is highly flammable? So maybe they just had so much porn, caught on fire, there was some smoking. Who knows? Boat explodes, she's in the water, she ends up on the dinghy. And when they rescue her, she's wearing like a black dress, but it's sheer, so you can see through it. And immediately I'm like, okay, this is a choice. They bring her upstairs, put her in like the medic bay or whatever. And then the first guy there is like, well, I obviously have to take all of her clothes off to check for internal injuries, which they don't end up doing. But they use her just as a plot device to make all the people on the boat horny temporarily. And Jeff Bridges is the lead, so he's going to be the primary love interest. And so They don't end up taking off her clothes or anything. But because Jeff Bridges is there, it's like, hey, well, you did a year of pre-med or something in college, so you're our boat doctor now, because we set out into international waters without even having a doctor on board, because we're that kind of company. But it's convenient just to get him to be close to her. And then she wakes up the next day and she's like fully on board with whatever their plan is. And all of a sudden, she's got fucking outfits out the wazoo. I'm like, where did she get all this clothing from? She's on a boat full of sailors, and she's got like Daisy Duke cut off shorts. She's wearing she has like a white cardigan outfit too, with the sort of crossed black dress on top of it. So out of nowhere, she's with them for however long this voyage is. I mean, they imply that it's at least a few weeks. It's more than a day. And she's got an outfit for every day of the week. Like, she's just living it up, super excited. And the first thing that she wants to do is make sure that she's like touching down on the beach of some uninhabited island, because this is, I have no idea. Like, I guess it was told to us that because Jeff Bridges was going to be taking photos, that she was like the all-American girl and they needed her for the photo shoot.
Yeah, I mean, they were like, well, hey, as long as she's here, we can use her to help sell, what we're doing here. I would like to say Jessica Lange to this day is still a beautiful woman, right? An American Horror Story and all that. But when I watch this movie now, when I was younger, I was like, damn, she's so hot. She's so sexy. Now, when I look at her, all I can see is older Jessica Lange. The titillation is gone. But I just assumed that they just donated whatever clothes they had on the boat from everybody else. And then she got creative with a pair of scissors and whatnot, and, trying to make herself, feel sexy, because she likes to feel sexy.
Yeah, I had to make the same assumptions, but I'm like, that's some like actual character writing you could have done for her, is like, hey, all we have for you is these overalls. And then she cuts the legs off and comes out and, that. So it's like it would have given her character like a little bit more depth, rather than she's just like trotting around the boat like she's on vacation.
Well, Nick, we only have an hour before we get to the islands. We don't have a lot of time. I would like to say they did spend some time building up Grodin's character.
Yes.
I think one of the first scenes that we really see him in was he's sitting at the dining room table with the captain of the ship. Because they were like, there's a storm coming up. And Grodin's like, nope, we're still going. And so the plates and the glasses, they're all sliding back and forth because they're going through a storm. And Grodin you can see him like looking at it as it's moving and just giving it the side eye. The captain says something, I can't remember. It was something about food or something. And Grodin runs out the room, apparently to the bathroom. And when he comes back, he's got water all over him because apparently he was trying to wash himself after puking. What a great intro to a character. I loved it.
Yeah, the captain is like just totally chill. Grodin's white as a sheet. And the captain, I'm listening. I rewound it. I was like, did this motherfucker just say raw herring with a beer chaser and a scoop of ice cream while he can see that his friend is visually seasick? I was like, no wonder he threw up. I'm like, that is disgusting.
I think they did a scene similar to that in Deep Rising, which is another. I love that movie, and that one, it's not universally liked. Also, coming back to
noted.
When Jack shows up, like, so when we're introduced to Jack, he's pretending to be drunk. He drops his money at Subaraya port, and the guard lets him in. And then he does he acts like a fucking monkey and climbs across the rope onto the boat. He's hiding out during the storm. He ends up showing up and interrupting the what is it?
Like the strategy meeting.
Yeah, the strategy meeting that Grodin is giving. And it's like, what the fuck? Was this your plan the whole time? Yeah, I'll just interrupt and everybody will be like, oh, cool, yeah.
I know that it's like they wanted the scene, right? It's like you kind of work your way backwards to that. Like you want the reveal where you have young Jeff Bridges, who they establish is 25 years old, but he looks like a monkey as well as climbing onto the boat like a monkey. They didn't.
I think they said that like in a lot of the reviews too because of his beard.
Yeah, he looked like kind of a orangutan a little bit. And I felt that it was intentional because they wanted him to look a little bit rugged. Whereas if he was shaved, it's like maybe he doesn't quite look like the mountaineering type. And there is a lot of outdoor scaling of hills and a lot of that exterior stuff. So it could have just been a creative decision that way, or maybe Bridges just showed up with the beard and like, hey, you know what? You fit right in. But his character in that scene just pops up in the back like Quint does in Jaws, right? And he just is like, but like Quint is, 50 in that story, and he's been sharking for 30 years, and he is an experienced professional in his field. And that in this, Bridges is like, hey, I'm 25. I just got out of Princeton. And by the way, I know all of the creepy legends in history about this particular island. And he starts to rattle them off one by one, trying to like scare everybody on the crew until Grodin eventually is like, who the hell is this guy?
And then, I love that Grodin's always taking his food away from him until he tells him the truth. He's like, I'm Jack Prescott.
Haven't you heard of me?
I'm Dr. Ted Nelson. That's a callback to Incredible Shrinking Man for all you Misty fans.
Get movie history here too.
Yeah, then they're like, okay, well, now we need a medic because this huge boat doesn't have a goddamn medic. And as Jack is like, he gives her the smelling salts to wake her up, and
which he just has.
I imagine the boat had it, even though they don't have a medic. They must have had smelling salts. And he's actually doing a good job of like, waking her up, getting her acclimated to, her situation, her surroundings. And then you got Grodin and the captain in the background, whatever, just saying the stupidest shit. Like and distracting. And I'm just like, oh my God, you asked him to do this. Just let him do it.
Yeah, they upgraded him from stowaway to medic, and then medic and photographer. So it's like, okay, now you're kind of like, you're pulling your weight around here. So we're okay with you. But in that moment where he wakes her up and she sort of like starts to come to, it's like the last thing she remembers is her yacht exploding and then swimming to a light in the distance where she found the dinghy. And then she's been passed out ever since. So is her first instinct when she wakes up really to be like, hey, like I'm on a boat into the unknown. This is so awesome. Like you just survived a boat exploding. Do you really want to take an adventure into international waters at this point?
I don't think she has much of a choice. So
that's fair enough. She's going whether they want her there or not, or whether she wants to be there or not. But I mean, I guess if you're looking at it that way, it's like, well, we might as well write her to be excited about it because she doesn't have a choice.
Oh, she does get very excited. She's like, I'm coming with you too. I'm going on this mysterious island that Jack thinks is dangerous because there's a giant creature on it.
Yeah, I guess like at what point did they even start to acknowledge that there was a giant creature there? Because Jack like talks about all these legends, and then the island is enshrouded in fog, but it seems like the conversation about like a giant ape just happens. There's no like build up to it from what I remembered, but I could be wrong.
Yeah, in the strategy session, Jack actually brings it up at one point. And I immediately flash back to Red Dwarf when I don't know if there's any Red Dwarf fans out there, but all I could hear was Rimmer saying the second Big Bang in incredulity. Yeah, he kind of mentions it there and immediately gets shut down. And then the next time it really comes up is when they see the wall, because Jack's like, yeah, that's to keep something in, not keep things out.
Yeah, and so like when they touch down on this island, it's pretty well established that this thing has been enshrouded by fog for, I don't know, close to, what did he say? wasn't 100 years. That's too long. But he had mentioned that the photo was taken like currently in 76 at the time. And then the previous photo of that where the fog hadn't moved had been, I don't know, at least 50 years prior to that, probably, one of the World War eras. But it's my understanding that nobody has made contact with anybody on this island. They don't even know that there's people on this island. But at the time that they show up there, all of a sudden, Mr. Prescott sure seems like very well versed in the rituals of these tribal people that they've never met, who have never encountered people from off the island. And he jumps to these conclusions. Like, why does he have any sort of knowledge of what these people are doing? Because it seems like he built a lot of mythology about like the mystery of the island and a lot of like ships and stuff that had gotten close to the island, but he just sort of assumes the role of like the expert as soon as they land.
Well, what was his major in Princeton? Jack Prescott from Princeton.
Yeah, I mean,
was it anthropology?
I think he was. They said he was an archaeologist, I think. So maybe he did study anthropology, but he just flashes his Princeton badge and is like, just listen to me, I'm from Princeton.
It sounds like he did medical studies, archaeology, anthropology. He just kind of bounced around until he got his degree.
Mm-hmm.
I assumed he just had a general knowledge of like indigenous people and other things. But this is an island that nobody's ever been to, and who knows what they're like. It's a fictional island; it doesn't exist. I really enjoy like the choreography of the ritual that they're doing and all that. The soundtrack for this is really quite amazing. It's like a big it's big, it's impressive, and it gives you a good idea of what these people are like. And I thought it was pretty cool. I also did like, I wanted, before we forget, as soon as they come ashore, Grodin's getting his picture taken, right?
Mm-hmm.
He's like, Jack, get a picture of me getting off the boat. And he's looking all super serious, and then he's like, bring the mosquito spray.
Right. I know he got like progressively more cartoonish as the movie went along, because it's like, okay, we've seen other films where it's like, here's the businessman who's protecting his business interests. He's going to act in the name of the interest. And like he, was painted a certain way during that initial sort of like introduction meeting. But then like as soon as they step on the island, it's like the stuff about the mosquito spray. There's a moment later after they've set up base camp where like he's just getting a massage from some young Asian man that happens to be part of their party. Like, did he bring a private masseuse with him? Like stuff like that all of a sudden starts to get like very, very dialed up with Grodin's character. And even his voice inflection seems to change like as he gets like more into character throughout the course of the film. But it's a performance that I still liked because he's a character that you don't like. And so kind of having these big, colorful brushstrokes added to him, I think made for a nice bit of texture to a film that on the one hand is in the process of taking itself seriously, but also like doesn't want to take itself too seriously. It's still like a big scale entertainment event, like the poster suggests, like the trailer suggests. It's meant to be enjoyable, not just to be this sort of like dry and maybe concrete example that is there to showcase technology or anything like that. It's meant to be a spectacle film where you have fun with it. And since you brought it up, the first moment where they come across the tribal ceremony, like I thought it was fantastic. Not just the scale, but the costuming's great. They obviously had to build a lot of that. And the use of extras was something that I felt was something I probably haven't seen in a while. I don't know why, but like having a large group of extras all sort of like in one area participating is something that I just don't see that often in film anymore. It's like, CGI became a way to easily sort of create faceless people at a distance. And so sort of the art of choreographing all of this is something that just maybe isn't quite what it used to be. And I noticed it when I was rewatching one of the old Indiana Jones movies too. Like the intro is all shot sort of like outside some Nazi, celebration of some kind, and Indy's sort of sneaking around, and it's like there's so much work that went into the choreography of all of the people that really don't have their face on camera, just so that you could get the one shot of Indy in the foreground with all that going on in the background. It's like, yeah, that's a lost art, and I felt that it was done really, really well here.
Yeah, I mean, it's a big dance. I mean, it's probably going back, back to the Busby Berkeley musicals and stuff, where you have to coordinate all of these different things in the background. Yeah, you don't really see a lot of that anymore, because it's a lot easier to just cut and paste and throw it all together. And yeah, I remember what was it? Indiana Jones: The Last Crusade. Is that where he infiltrates?
I think so. Yeah.
Yeah, he like infiltrates the Hitler thing and gets his book signed.
Yeah, it sounds about right. I think it's that scene.
Yeah. So yeah, you're right. You really don't see stuff like that. And this is, of course, the 70s. It's still a lot of old school Hollywood that's participating in making all this stuff.
Yeah, and I think that's maybe why like the 70s were sort of that era of American cinema where things exploded in terms of creative avenues and sort of filmmaking freedom, because you had the knowledge and the experience of working films a certain way, and the ideas were opened up a lot more. And this is a movie that uses extras extensively, and I'll get to that in a little bit, but just to see the ingenuity in this film in terms of how they design Kong, how they use Jessica Lange when they're not using a green screen, how they combine Kong in the suit with sort of Kong, Mecha Kong, I guess, for lack of a better term, the way that they combined the set piecing for certain scenes with the already established background shots of the island that they had taken. Just really like good sound filmmaking techniques on display throughout this whole movie, I would say.
Yeah, absolutely. There's a lot of combination of techniques. Absolutely. Yeah, it's you mentioned the Mecha Kong.
Let's talk about it. Let's go.
Okay, let's
because you had posted that thing on X the other day about like this is a huge lie, and it's the little blurb that covers the last scene in the movie before the credits roll.
Oh, I think I've still got it here, so let me just pull it up. So at the very end of the movie, there's this credit that fills the screen, and it says, "The producer wishes to acknowledge that Kong has been designed and engineered by Carlo Rambaldi, constructed by Carlo Rambaldi and Glenn Robinson, with special contributions by Rick Baker." So they had built up and sold this entire film that it's a full-size Kong. It's completely mechanical. This is how we're doing it. This is the way the effects are done. They played that up all the way through release. So their main goal here was to trick the audience into thinking that that was the way that they made the film. But the full mechanical Kong, which was 40 feet tall, I think was how big it was, all made with hydraulics and whatnot. It didn't work.
Nope.
It did not work at all. It could barely move. It didn't look real at all. So you only
stiff as hell.
Oh my God. So yeah, you only see it for like 30 seconds in the film. And that's when he's supposedly breaking out of the cage and his hands just kind of open and drop the pieces of the cage. It's like, ooh. So they had to get Rick Baker in to come in and create gorilla suits. And he did all this stuff like at the last minute. And he created a lot of the masks. There's different masks for different emotions and whatnot, and then he actually played Kong too. So when you see those eyes and when you see Kong doing anything except for dropping the pieces of the cage. That's all Rick Baker. 99% of any Kong that you see on this film is all of his suit work, and a lot of it looks great. It's
yeah, it does.
It's some of the greatest suit work of that time period. But yeah, De Laurentiis wanted to continue to spread the lie that it was all done with this giant hydraulic monstrosity that I remember at one point they were doing it. And I remember this story. They have people inside of it too, trying to keep it together. They were running it, and all of a sudden, like, all the hydraulic juices were just spraying inside of there. People were like scrambling out of it, trying to get the fuck out. What a tragedy! What an absolute failure! But yeah, that end credit really kind of pisses me off, and I'm sure Rick Baker had some feelings about that too.
Yeah, I mean, fortunately, like, this was not like the end all be all for Rick Baker's career, but yeah, that would suck to be like, I did all the work. I was literally in the damn suit, and you gave all the credit to this other guy. Like, was that a thing that was, I don't know, Rambaldi, was he Italian as well? So it was like an Italian solidarity thing?
Probably, because they kept trying to get, they even had Rambaldi make a suit at one point, I believe. And it looked like shit. So it was like Rick Baker saves the day, but because I guess, yeah, De Laurentiis and Rambaldi kind of had I don't know, previous history. What Rambaldi, I mean, he went on to do like E.T. and work on Alien and stuff like that. He did a lot of big stuff after that, but before this, what he did, he worked on
Bullet.
Yeah, and that's after, because like, yeah, after this, he got a lot of big budget. The Close Encounters he did after this too.
Yeah.
But before that, he was doing mainly low budget stuff like in Italian stuff like Danger Diabolic, Deep Red, I think he worked on as well with Argento.
Yeah, I see some Frankenstein stuff in his credits as well.
Ooh, Flesh for Frankenstein, the one that everybody else will call Andy Warhol's Frankenstein, even though he really didn't have anything to do with it. Great in 3D, by the way. Amazing in 3D.
Is this a movie that you saw in 3D, this Kong?
It was not in 3D.
Oh, that's a bummer.
I know. I wish everything was in 3D.
Well, I mean, you would definitely notice this stiff-ass monkey suit in 3D, because that one scene where they finally like use it and they have to cut to some wide shots with it for scale, like, it's just like a stuffed animal. So really all of the reasons that we, the audience, cheer for Kong is because of what Rick Baker did. So that end credit should really read like, hey, thank you to Rambaldi for constructing the giant monkey suit and putting in all that effort, but we didn't actually use it. So much respect to Rick Baker for bailing our asses out. But yeah, that element of the animatronics like still came into play. It just wasn't like the big Mecha Kong that they had expected. So they did a lot of smaller scale stuff with like individual hands. I think they did some stuff with the legs and feet as well. And as I was watching it, I was like, when I ride the tram at Universal, is this the King Kong that particular section of the tram ride is modeled after? And yes, it is. So I finally connected the dots on those two things many years into my life, past the point where I should have figured that out. But some of the animatronic work is solid, and I think it gives Jessica Lange something to work with in those scenes where if it were all green screen, like, it would eventually wear itself out. And then even some of the scenes are a combination of, her in the animatronic hand and then still green screen behind that, which, you know, if it's too much, you're not going to have the sort of authentic experience. And I think a good scene that really highlights where that's effective is the waterfall scene, because you really have like a functioning waterfall, like a functioning backdrop. You have this actual monkey hand holding her and going through the process of all this, and you built like a real lake or pond for her to fall into. And it was crazy to read that after the fact, when Kong is disrobing her, that she was like left with a pinched nerve in her neck from the other animatronic finger that was taking her clothes off. So like in the name of that scene, like you actually injured your actress for like no like great reason, but that scene comes to a close with it has to be the animatronic monkey head that is just like blowing Kong breath on her. Which,
Oh, that's a Rick Baker mask.
oh wow, that's very impressive because those cheeks fill up real full, and he's basically blow drying her at that point. He's not doing a good job of it because I don't think she actually gets dry, but he's trying. He's well intentioned.
Yeah, that's and what a scene that was. Wow. But
it goes on for a while.
It does. Well, yeah, the animatronic arms and hands that they did were absolutely amazing. And some of the composites that they do where they blend that with the the full Kong suit behind them. Some of those work really well, some of them don't, but I mean it's pretty impressive. But yeah, that scene, oh my god. Yeah, so she falls down in the mud.
Mm-hmm.
And then Kong's like, "Oh, look at you! You got all dirty. Let's clean you up." And he picks her up, holds her under a waterfall, and gets her all wet, washes the mud off, and then he starts blowing on her. And I can only imagine what that breath smells like.
Right? She doesn't even react to it like it stinks.
She reacts like it's kind of fucking hot. Actually,
yeah, she's like, "Ooh, it's warm.
Yeah,
I needed this right now."
And it's just it's really it's kind of off-putting. But I guess that's the way that they're showing that, oh, these guys are bonding now, and this will explain later why she cares about him and whatnot. And yeah, then there's the almost rape scene where he starts poking at her with a giant, where she gets fingered by Kong. Basically, he's poking at her with his giant finger and taking her shell necklaces off, and then her shirt almost comes off almost all the way. Just wow, guys, wow.
Yeah, that was a choice, all right. And that whole scene, like leading up to it, I think she at one point calls him a chauvinist pig ape, and then screams at him, "Choke on me." And so there's a lot going on, but she's like having a conversation with him at one point. I think she says, "We're going to be friends. I'm a Libra." And then she's like starting to guess Kong's astrological sign. Like, "Oh, you seem like an Aries to me." I'm like, what the fuck is she talking about? But yes, Kong gets very excited to see her wet in the waterfall. And, they're treating Kong like he's basically like an adolescent boy at that point who's just like interested, but not necessarily ill-intentioned.
Yeah, I do believe that in the original there was kind of a scene where Kong actually started almost removing the clothes of Fay Ray, if I remember correctly.
Interesting.
It may have been cut out of some releases because that movie got edited. They cut out all sorts of stuff like Kong chewing on people and stepping on people and whatnot. So that might have been one of them that got cut out of one of the releases. But I do remember in a restored version seeing something like that. But yeah, it's definitely, like you said, that was a choice, and I guess it works. I don't know.
It's in there either way. It's also like coming at a very weird time in the movie because the massage boy on the beach is around that time as well. There is like a weird moment of just bizarre monkey math that the captain throws out at Charles Grodin's character, where they're like, well, the footprint is 6 feet across, so if you just multiply that by 8, we know how tall the monkey is. I said, what the hell are these two talking about? That they first of all don't know anything about primates, but he just happens to know this convenient multiplication system for measuring the height of apes based on their footprint. But again, it's just convenient to get you to the picture that like Kong's 50 feet tall. That's all you need to know. Don't ask too many questions about this. But it's also a moment in the film where I think right before that too, Jeff Bridges finally tells somebody, I think whoever the guy was who was leading sort of the expedition party. It was Carnahan, excuse me, and that was Ed Lauder's character. He tells him finally, like, stop asking me questions. I don't know the answer. He finally has a question that he can't answer, and is just like, I'm just as ignorant as you are. And I was like, well, where was this for the last like half an hour of the film where you were explaining literally everything to us? You just told us that King Kong was going to be scared of lights, even though you've never met the guy before.
Oh man, Jeff Bridges' character, I don't know how to feel about him. I'm not 100% behind him because I think he's kind of a pompous ass.
Yeah.
But on the other hand, he's the one that really kind of makes the main drive to try and rescue Dwan.
Yeah.
I don't think without him anybody would really be that concerned about her because, hey, it's possible nobody even knows that she's on the boat with him.
Yeah, and they all kind of assumed that, she was going to get eaten by Kong anyway. So they were like, hey, he ate her already. We're not going to like waste resources going to chase her down. And Jeff is the only one who pushes that narrative. And I think as you get a little bit further in the film, as they are enticed with the prospect of making money off of Kong, he's the one that is most resistant to it, even though he does eventually concede because they dangle fame and fortune in front of him. And Grodin says something to him like, what, they don't have like famous people from Princeton, something like that. Just like, you could be like the star in your field of work, even as a scientist, if you go along with this. And so he eventually does, but later in the film, he says that he donated the money that he got to the fund to return Kong to the wild. So you get a little bit back from that, where it's like he's the only person sort of like pushing back on some of the morally questionable things that happen in the film. And it's important to have that because otherwise it's just like full steam ahead and nobody's really stopping to think about Kong, because Dwan is like completely enamored with the idea of being a star, even though it's like you almost died at the hands of King Kong. Like you were terrified. So, but same thing with the boat. Like you had these two horrible events in your life happen, and then basically right away after those events happen, you're like, yeah, I'm on board with whatever's next. So she was just like, she's going with the flow. It doesn't matter.
Yeah, well, like we said, whatever it takes to make it in Hollywood, baby.
I guess so. And also, like around that same time on the beach, when all of this stuff has just happened, you get the oil company expert who comes out and just basically laughs his ass off. And he's like, oh, like this oil is not going to be ready for us. And he's just drinking, enjoying himself. And that's when the plan is hatched to capture Kong and to bring him to New York and to sort of just pivot the plan entirely, because Grodin couldn't just take the loss. Like he was so fixated on needing to be the guy that did something, because he didn't even really seem to care about like the oil company. He wasn't an oil magnate in that way. He was sort of interested in just money and being successful as a businessman, and he was going to do whatever it took to make that happen. And in this case, it was like, well, the oil here is not going to be ready for 10,000 years. So, all right, well, new plan. Kong is coming to New York and we got to figure this out.
Yeah, so I also like that guy that can analyze the oil and all that. He's actually fucking with Grodin at first. He's like, "Oh yeah, this is gonna be great oil, gonna be so good." And Grodin's like, "Yes, we're rich." He goes, in about 1,000 years. Ha ha ha. Oh, that was great. And I think Grodin had already radioed and said, we're bringing in the big one at one point. And then when he finds out that, oh, well, we ain't got no oil, but we're still going to bring in the big one. We're going to bring in this ape and use it to market our oil company, which, okay. That's a pretty bizarre leap of logic. But, yeah. And at this point, we started getting to like the rescue mission of trying to get to Dwan, I think, is when all of this stuff's happening at the same time, right?
Yeah, it's all sort of unfolding. They've set up base camp. They've already sent the rescue expedition out to look for her. and they're sort of finding all of this stuff out at the same time. And I guess it's true to his character that he's like, well, I said it was the big one, so I guess I have to live by that sentence or die now. And so, all right, well, we've got Kong and he's big, and you know what, monkeys and commercials seem to make sense, and you know, monkeys plus gasoline, yeah, whatever. But true to his word, when they do unveil King Kong in New York, they do it in a fucking gas pump from a gas station, like a giant fabricated gas pump. And inside of that is Kong. So, hey, you know what? He lived up to it, though. He did not back away from the idea that he was going to connect this to their brand of gasoline.
I mean, we should say the name of the company is Petrox.
Petrox.
That's pretty on the nose. But yeah, as they're wheeling out this 50-foot tall gas pump, Grodin is giving this speech, and he's like, "Behold the power of Kong and Petrox." Grodin's got some great deliveries in here, man. Like I said, he's really the star of the show besides Rick Baker.
Yeah, and he's also dressed in that scene like he's auditioning for some sort of role in a safari film, because he's got the full safari gear, the shirt, he's got the hat with the brim flipped up on one side. He looks like a character from, I think it was actually, they used that same character design in Jumanji, where it's like one of the NPC characters inside the movie has that same hat, that same outfit, basically. So that's why I was like, he's just becoming more and more cartoonish as the film goes along. But while they're on the beachfront and they're discussing that where Kong's moving, where the rescue team is headed, there's a moment where they're trying to figure out like timing, and they said estimated monkey time to your position, and like I lost it. I was just like,
so did I.
Was like, what the fuck measure of unit is estimated monkey time?
Okay, so that's at the point when Kong is chasing Jack.
Yes.
And before that, we get to like a recreation of one of the big scenes from the original from 33 version, and that would be the log where they're trying to now at this point, holy fuck, does this look just like a soundstage, because that's exactly what it is.
Yeah.
It almost looked like sort of like original Star Trek, sort of kind of when they're first walking up. When they're first walking up to it with the rocks behind them and whatnot. And when they start crossing the log, that's kind of a little better. But the one thing that I thought was like, they're crossing this log, and then all of a sudden Kong's standing there roaring at him. Like, was he walking on his tippy toes? How did they not notice? Because any other time Kong walks, you got the boom, boom. So that was kind of judicious filmmaking there. But and then of course Kong, like in true fashion, he starts rolling the log back and forth. I don't know if you noticed this, and maybe I was wrong, but like the first three people that fall off, they all have the same exact scream. And it's not a Wilhelm scream either. So I mean, I couldn't blame it on that. But for some reason, it sounded like they used the same scream there. And then, of course, Jack ends up hiding in that little cave, and somehow Kong knows he's there, and he's grabbing at him. Where we get more of the great of the animatronic hand and stuff like that. It's a pretty cool scene, but I don't think a lot of the effects really worked that great in a lot of it.
Yeah, it's like it goes on for a little bit too long, I would say, because you sort of get the idea of it, but also you're killing off like all of the cast other than two characters. So it's like you had this party of six, where in most situations like that, in most stories where you have a big rescue party that's going to die, you kind of like pick them off one by one and build this level of fear and anticipation. But in this, it's like they just blew their load on Kong showing up immediately, spooking all of them. They all start shooting, and then of course Jeff, no, don't shoot him, I'm from Princeton, monkeys don't like being shot. And so they're stuck they're stuck on the log, and then we have that scene. And so maybe it's the idea that they had to be faithful to that moment that sort of strip them of the creativity to do what they wanted to do. And then it's like, hey, we built this big ass animatronic hand, so we want to showcase it where we can. And so we're going to have Kong like scratching this hole in the rock for a couple of minutes, where you could have really gotten away with like just show him reaching down there. If he doesn't find Jeff immediately, then tell him to kick bricks. But no, Kong's like, I know he's there. I'm fingering this crack in the mountain that I'm very, very aware of.
The innuendo.
Look, Kong has spent a lot of time on this island, and he's lonely.
Well, here's one of the things, and probably one of the reasons why I think they may have chosen to just wipe everybody out automatically. And it's one of the big things that a lot of people don't like about this remake. There's no fucking dinosaurs on this island, man. And that's really what the first one was big on. There were, there was a Tyrannosaur or Allosaur, there was Stegosaurus, there was Brontosaurus, there was and people were picked off one by one by the shit that they encountered in the jungle. In this movie, there's only Kong, and the giant snake, but I don't know. That's the only conceit that they kind of threw in there to say, all right, here's another giant monster. But there was nothing for them else to die from, unless they're gonna get bitten by a mosquito and or a tsetse fly or whatever.
I mean, it would have been a good callback after he's like, hey, give me that mosquito spray.
Oh, yeah.
They all get infected with some virus.
Oh, dude, what about a giant mosquito? Make everything big.
Yeah, I mean, I'm all for that. But I think in looking at the cost and the time that they dedicated to building the animatronic Kong that didn't work, they're like, okay, well, what are our options here? We do suits for dinosaurs, or we do stop motion, but that means we would have to do a stop motion Kong as well. Or, hey, can you rig up a snake real quick? Be like, all right, let's do the snake. And hey, for what it's worth, like, I mean, it's not the most entertaining fight scene or anything, but it serves its purpose. And then the actual end of that fight is pretty gnarly, and the effects work on that is really good.
Yeah, that's our first real gore effect in this movie. He tears it apart. Yeah, I mean, can you imagine if De Laurentiis had tried to do like a Suitmation Tyrannosaurus?
I mean, I kind of wish they would have done it at this point, just because like I've seen the version that they tried. So hey, you know what? How big is a T-Rex? 20, 30 feet? Like, yeah, get somebody in there on their knees, or get a kid in the suit or something. We'll figure it out.
I figure it probably ended up looking like one of those old Doug McClure flicks from like the 70s. Like, what was it? The Lost Continent, or the Land That Time Forgot. It was something like that. So I'm kind of glad they didn't. But yeah, it would have been really entertaining. But I don't think the movie would work as well, because even the snake, it's kind of like, ooh, I don't know. Okay, that was cool, but I think if we had a bunch of goofy Suitmation dinosaurs in there, we probably wouldn't have felt as much for Dwan.
Yeah.
And I don't know why I say it that way. It's just a silly name.
I mean, you're not wrong. I can't not hear it that way, because she takes time to stop them in the beginning. It's like Dawn, but Dwan. It's like, get out of here, Dawn.
She's so creative. I don't think we would have had as much time for Dwan and Kong and building that relationship, which is so important when it comes to the very end.
Yeah, and also with the snake, it's like you don't have to have any really additional animatronics beyond, like, you can open its mouth with strings, like you can sort of make it roll out. You can do that all with manpower. And then the fight scene itself is like, okay, well, we just cut to the point where the snake is wrapped around him, and, we can have Baker roll around and basically bring all the action to the scene without having to build something else or put somebody else in a suit. So it was probably like the cheapest and most effective way to bring some other supersized creature to the party.
Yeah, absolutely. Like I said, I'm happy that there is another giant creature in there, because if there hadn't even been one, I'd probably have riots at the theater. Yeah, I mean, this is King Kong we're talking about here. So thanks for throwing us a bone, Dino. Isn't it funny? Everybody calls it Dino De Laurentiis Kong, and he didn't even direct it. It was John Guillerman.
Yeah, when you had mentioned it to me, I went looking and then I was like, wait a second. I was like, this is Guillerman. I was like, am I watching the right one? That's why I reached out to you and I was like, it's the 1976 movie, right?
Yeah, it's. I mean, even the making of book that I have, it says the making of Dino De Laurentiis King Kong. That's pretty much the way it's always been referred to. It's not just a current thing. So, or I mean, John Guillerman, I don't think he had that illustrious of a career. He was more of like a work for hire. He did come back. He directed King Kong Lives.
He did, yes.
Wow, that poor man.
I mean, he did Towering Inferno also, and
that makes sense why they brought him in for this movie, because it's basically like a fucking disaster flick.
yeah, and Death on the Nile is the other like main one. But I think they brought him in for this because of El Condor.
Huh.
Maybe
Okay.
maybe I didn't read that right, but I mean he worked a lot, so it's like he definitely was professional style of like director from that era that had to work a lot just in general. And you know, even if you're not like like what we have now where it's like auteur cinema, right? So this is not a guy where it's like you don't even know that he's the director because everyone calls it by the producer's name. So it's like he doesn't even have that level of sort of like, I guess, internal respect within the industry. But if you look at his body of work, I mean, he directed 41 movies, it looks like. So
Yeah.
like not short on work at all. And he's got some good titles in there as well. So just like interesting to see some of the names that were on the list of directors that were considered for this, but not actually hired as well. And to bring in a guy who's just like a seasoned vet who knows how to do his job and how to do it well and how to like get a production of this scale like up and running and stay on budget and on pace and all that stuff. It's all like actually really important things to know as a director. So I'm glad that they found the director, but I heard like Spielberg was floated around for this and some other big names as well. I'm looking at the list, but I lost it somewhere in the one of my tabs that I have open.
And that's not information I have committed to memory either.
Yeah, I mean, shit, I don't blame you. I know I saw Spielberg, and I think there was like another big name or two that were on that list. Where I'm like, huh. So if they would have gone this direction, oh, Roman Polanski was one. Michael Winner, Sam Peckinpah, bunch of names that were floated around as well as Spielberg. So interesting to see all the names that could have done it and sort of the careers of all those people outside of this. But I think it's a good time to do some trivia since we're digging into some of that stuff right now. How do you feel about that?
Yeah, I didn't study up on my trivia, and now I realize when you say let's do some trivia, you really mean you're going to ask me trivia questions. So
this is not your first rodeo.
This time I'm prepared. Let's go ahead.
Time for trivia. Okay, so number one, so Jessica Lange ultimately got this role. It was her film debut, but which other famous actresses auditioned and didn't get the role?
Oh, man, I didn't figure that would be something I would know. Who was the lady in Taxi Driver?
That was Jodie Foster, right?
No, not Jodie Foster. No, the not the prostitute. The one that worked for the politician.
Sybil Shepherd?
Sybil Shepherd. Was she in the running?
She was not.
All right. Well, I don't know.
So the first name that pops up is Meryl Streep because she's got a story about this that she auditioned and De Laurentiis was there, and she says that I guess he leaned over to his son and said something in Italian that was the equivalent of "she's too ugly for Kong," to which she apparently speaks Italian and responded to De Laurentiis in kind. But yes, Meryl Streep did not get the part for that reason, apparently. And I think it was on Letterman that she told that story. Maybe it was one of those talk shows, but interesting to see that she was in the running, and Meryl Streep, not an ugly woman at all. So very interesting to hear De Laurentiis feel that way at that time. And another famous actress that auditioned, and it was her first audition ever, was Kim Basinger. Auditioned for this role and didn't get it. And then I believe that Melanie Griffith also screen tested based on what I read, but she didn't actually audition. So,
well, I gotta say that's a very Dino thing for him to do. I am not surprised by that story.
yeah, reading about him has been interesting. I wonder, is there a book on Dino De Laurentiis or like a documentary on his career?
Man, you know what? I'll have to look for you. I don't know off the top of my head, but yeah, that it would be a wild read or watch.
Yeah, absolutely. But let's go to question number 2. We've got King Kong's vocalizations were recorded by which renowned voice actor, and which iconic character does he currently still voice?
Peter Cullen.
That's right.
And he does Transformers. He does Optimus Prime.
That is right. Ding, ding. Well done, my friend.
Sweet.
All right, let's go to question number 3. Let's see if you can end up on the plus side here.
Yeah, see if I can break my record, which is 1 out of 3.
Well, you're currently tied. You can't do worse than that, at least. And actually, if I give you 2 points for that, because you got the guy and the character name, you're already in the plus.
Ding, ding.
So let's go to question number 3. And I wrote this question very strangely for some reason, but said there's a lot of great work with extras in this movie. And during the final scene at the World Trade Center, the original casting call went out for 5,000 extras. Approximately how many people actually showed up?
Oh, well, way more than they expected. And I've never quite remembered the exact number. I'm going to say 50. 50,000.
Oh, wow. That's pretty close. According to the August 1976 edition of Cinema File, ended up being 45,000 people.
Round it up. I got it.
Yeah, I'll say that's close enough because that was the high end. Because I saw one number say 30,000, and then I saw another stat with citation corrected to be 45. So I'll give you that one too. But that's super impressive because, I mean, like I said, the extra work in this film in general was something that I just had not seen on screen in quite some time. And to tell a story like this and to have the kind of scope and scale that you want and to do the scene, I think it was Shea Stadium or wherever they unveiled Kong in the gas pump. It sounds ridiculous when you hear it back again, but you had to have this big place, like you had to have the bleachers full because so many of these scenes are these big wide shots, and so you can't kind of cut corners where I've seen, stadiums on film where, hey, we're gonna film this scene in the corner where we have our like 2,000 extras, and we're just going to move them to the other section to film the other scene so it looks like the stadium is full, and then when we do all the wide shots in post, we're going to fill the rest of the arena with digital fans. So to see it all done with like real human beings is super impressive.
Yeah. That in the final big extra scene that we were just referencing where after Kong has fallen off the buildings and he's laying there, that again, well, that one was a totally different construction, where they built like almost a full size Kong there, and they had to put in all the hair and all that stuff. Well, I think they shot it over 2 different nights, but after the first night, so many people showed up and they couldn't really control them all. People were ripping the hair out of it and running away with stuff as souvenirs. So they had to go try to make it look presentable again before the next night shooting. And I think the second night they didn't have near as many people, but I mean, at that point, I don't think it really mattered. But yeah, people are insane, especially when you're in a big crowd like that and you can get apparently I think I heard one where they had run off with one of his eyeballs.
Oh, damn.
I don't know. I'd have to double check on that, but yeah, I do know that they were basically tearing pieces off of it.
Yeah, that's mob mentality at its finest. And honestly, like if there was a giant King Kong that fell off of the World Trade Center and was laying there, people would absolutely be grabbing shit off of it. 100%. So that story does not surprise me in the slightest. But since we've sort of like taken our turn here and we've rounded the corner and we've arrived at King Kong in New York, and I want to talk about not just the New York stuff, because like we said earlier, it's presented in a way that doesn't really like give us a romanticized New York as the other Kongs have. This is a New York to scale for Kong. And I think that's one of the things I loved about it the most is how they built the city to size for him. They built the entire like subway platform as well. They built replicas of the World Trade Center for him to climb on. They did a lot of this stuff like, I don't want to say the wrong way or the right way, but they did it the hard way and the authentic way. They built it, and they built it to scale based on photos, because I think I read that the first thing they shot in New York was some of the military cavalry intro to the base of the World Trade Center towers where the fountain is. So they shot a lot of that stuff and then used those shots to scale the rest of everything else. And I think the more you point towards the sky, the more you're limited in terms of how you present miniatures. And we saw this when we, went back and watched Godzilla, what was it, Biollante? Not that long ago. Yeah, you saw that like the way that they built the city is fantastic, but the more that you have to look up at Godzilla and see the sky, like you realize there's no stars or anything. It's just dark, so it makes it a little bit weird. And when you get to the part with the trade centers and he's climbing up and you have to pan vertically to see that, you can tell that it's like, okay, they had to like green screen in some background or something. It looks a little bit funky, but at the beginning where he's just walking through the city or when he starts scaling the tower, like that is excellent miniature work. And I mean, you and I are both fans of that because obviously we watch a lot of Godzilla and monster shit, but I was super, super impressed with how it looked on screen.
Yeah, they could have gone like the quote unquote easier route and just tried to composite it in or green screen it in with, backplates or whatever. But yeah, they went full out. They built, the miniatures and that it's not a subway. I don't know what you would call that thing. It's like in Chicago, you call it the L train. But yeah, I mean that whole set piece was really freaking cool. He just I don't know why he tears through it. He's like, I'm gonna fuck with it. Well, because it looks like a snake. That's why. But then I love that he rips it open and he looks in and he sees a blonde lady in a dress. And he's like, there she is. And he picks her up and he looks at her. He's like, oh, this ain't her. And he just throws her away.
Oh my God. I was so fucked up. He tossed her. I mean, he threw a monkey fastball and she's probably, 35 feet in the air at that point. And, she's splattered, but they don't show us that.
No, but yeah, I don't think she's surviving that. If she does, she's got a lot of pain to work through. I do also think there was another thing that I was thinking about when Kong is walking up. Like I think I can't remember what part it was, but the military's all crouched down with their little tiny pea shooter guns, right? Mm-hmm. And Kong is kind of in front of them, and it cuts to this shot of all of the military people, and all you hear is clickety click, clickety click, clickety click. Like they're all getting ready to shoot at them with their pea shooters. And it just made me laugh so much. Anyway, sorry.
No, there's another scene with the cops too, where Kong is on top of the World Trade Center towers, and you've got a bunch of New York City cops that are all in shooting position, aimed at the top of the towers. Like, you guys can't see shit. You're not gonna hit him with a shotgun blast from street level, guys. Even if you have the best rifle, you could maybe get the bullet there. But I know you can't see what's going on up there because it's hundreds of feet in the air. What are you guys doing in prone position? This is a waste of energy for you guys. You should be getting the people out of here.
I also have another question. Okay, so on the island, they have this establishing shot that there's these two pillars, right?
Oh, yes. I had the same question.
Right. So it's supposed to be like, oh, Kong recognizes that. But I never got the feeling that Kong was on top of one of those.
They didn't show us that.
No. Like what, they never explained why would he want to climb the two towers, because he didn't do it on the island.
Well, yeah, it's because Jeff Bridges in this movie has his master's degree from Princeton in exposition. So he comes in and he says, this is where Kong is going. So let's all put our resources to where Kong is going for some obvious reason.
Well, because it's Jack Prescott from Princeton.
Right. Jack Prescott from Princeton. He knows what's up. But yeah, he stops in the street. He looks up at the buildings like he's having this moment of deja vu. And I'm like, is this a callback to the 33 movie that I'm not understanding? And then they, at least fortunately, they're like, no, Nick, you're not out of it that bad. This is him, Jack Prescott, having deja vu of these two rocks that he saw on this island once. And there was no King Kong there. But guess what? Jack says that it reminds King Kong of home, even though King Kong's wandering through a city terrified. He doesn't know what's going on, but he sees two tall towers. So, okay, and naturally that's where he's going.
Yeah, they like superimpose the previous shot from the island over the Twin Towers.
Yeah.
It's like, I guess they had to do that because they did not establish that very well.
Nope, they're like, people are gonna have questions. This is not going over well in the test screening, so let's get some shots of that rock, and then we can superimpose it over the Twin Towers here, and we'll do a little crossfade action, and then people will be up to speed, and Jack will be there to tell us that King Kong is going to the towers, and of course, we're just gonna listen to him. But in the midst of all that, Dwan is like, oh my God, we finally outran him. Can we stop and go to this bar right here? Buy me a drink. And it's like, what is happening with her? Like, you're on the run from a 50-foot tall gorilla that like wants you and is not going to let anything stand in its way. But you think, oh, because you crossed the river and they have the bridge closed, that's going to just, save your ass. Meanwhile, King Kong is in the river and nobody notices. He's crossing how do you lose track of a 50-foot tall gorilla when you have helicopters?
Right. Well, now to be fair to Dwan, she does say, you said in your book yourself that gorillas don't cross the water or whatever, something like that. So
convenient, Jack.
Yes, right. So she's like, just buy me a drink. I'm tired of running. Da da da. So she thinks they're safe, and because she trusts Jack Prescott from Princeton. But
she's seen the degree.
I'm sure he has it in his
pocket. Show me the receipts, Jack.
He probably waves it around whenever he gets a chance.
I'm from Princeton, goddammit. Read the letter.
See that name? That's Jack Prescott. But yeah, I mean, they show Kong hiding behind a building at one point. Mm-hmm. But then how does he just slink into the river? I can understand if he was able to get in there and then kind of quietly get over to the other side, but getting in and out, that's where the problem is.
Yeah, okay. Well, I understand him hiding behind the building. I understand maybe the helicopter loses sight of him because, he's a monkey. He's agile. Maybe he took a quick turn somewhere and they lost him. What I don't understand is how the millions of residents of New York City do not at some point see a 50-foot tall gorilla go into the river and report that somewhere. Like, they don't even pick him up while he's in the river and then continue the pursuit. He gets all the way to the other side before they know he's there.
Well, here's the thing. Aside from the L train, the rest of the city is apparently empty. We don't see anybody.
That's true.
After the big, reveal in the gas pump, we don't really see anybody after that.
Where are those extras?
Right? I mean, they ran out of money, I guess. But yeah, the city's empty. It's just Kong in the buildings. And yeah, so I mean, how would you evacuate all of New York within that amount of time?
At least tell us that you're evacuating the city so that we have reason to understand why there's nobody in their apartment, like on the phone. 911, what's your emergency? There's a 50-foot tall gorilla outside my building right now. Are you guys aware of this?
Yeah. Budget and effects concerns, but you know what? I never really even thought about it until this watch through for some reason.
Yeah.
Because at this point, a movie's kicked in and I'm along for the ride.
No, absolutely. And I think what this movie does very well is establish that I want to be on Kong's side because they don't make Jack great. They don't make Dwan great. Obviously, Grodin's character, Pet Rock's Fred Wilson guy, he is worse than either of the other two. So by the time that we arrive in New York, they've established pretty clearly that all of the people that we've met suck. And so it's very easy to cheer for Kong. And they sort of spend some time on the boat with that as well, because they capture him in a pit of chloroform, but nobody that's like right around the pit has any ill effects from this chloroform either. And all of a sudden the natives are back. I guess they teamed up with these businessmen to spring this trap on Kong, and they get him into the boat and they have this big enclosure for him. They also seem to put like very important infrastructure of the ship on the surrounding parts of this container. I mean, granted, they probably didn't know they were going to have a 50-foot tall gorilla inside there. It's probably used for storing oil because that's what they were there for. But, he's punching into the wall and damaging a lot of important mechanics for this ship as well. And he eventually calms down, and then you get Jack and Dwan having a romantic moment, and her scarf flies off in the wind and works its way down into Kong's cage, where he takes a hit of that handkerchief and he's got the pheromones all up in his blood, and he gets up and he's, raging out and super horny. And like her idea is to go say hi to him. And, she falls in there, he saves her. And then in that moment, I don't know what happens, but he catches her. He lets her go. So it's like, we know that he's not trying to hurt her. She climbs away. And so in that moment, like, you're having a important moment of separation where Kong no longer is possessive of her in the same way. Because it could have been like, oh, they have to go in there and try and get her, and it's another rescue party situation. But he just puts her down gently. She leaves, and then he passes out. So I don't know exactly what happened there after he took a hit of that handkerchief. But by the time we arrive at, I think it's Shea Stadium, but by the time we get there and he's in his quote unquote escape proof cage certified by New York City, I want to see him rampage at that point. I'm like, I want to see him bust out of this and smash a bunch of shit. So I love that I really somehow still like got on board with the motivation for Kong at that point. I'm like, I definitely want to see him stomp on Grodin, which he did, thankfully. And I wanted to see him sort of just like go ape shit, for lack of a better term, because he's had all this horrible stuff happen to him. He's established that he's not really like, doesn't want to be violent if not provoked. And all of the people that we've been accustomed to be like our main characters, like, I don't like any of them. So I'm like very much pro Kong by the time that he freaks out and busts loose on New York.
Yeah, absolutely, man. And I want to, yeah, because people suck, dude. People are the worst. Especially when it comes to animals, man. But I think that part on the oil tanker, okay, he's been drugged, he's been taken from his island, he's in a small confined space, he's basically in giant monkey jail. I think he's just kind of like, he's kind of given up at that point, right?
Yeah.
I mean, his spirit's been broken. And then that giant handkerchief, it's giant, dude. It's way out of scale.
It's like a beach towel.
Yeah.
Because it's like a bandana size when it flies off of her shoulder, but when it lands in there, it's like 6 feet long.
Yes. But it tells him, oh, she's still here.
Yeah.
And that's what gets him all worked up and excited. And as soon as she proves that, yeah, I really am here, he's like, oh, okay, well, I'm going to calm back down now. And he just resigns himself to, again, this is what's going to happen. And then, they chain him up, blah, 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 just the escape proof
Certified by New York City, because New York City is so accustomed to building cages for 50-foot tall gorillas.
Right. As he breaks out, Grodin's like, he goes, don't worry, he's still chained.
Right.
Immediately Kong breaks the chain. But the only reason he really freaks out and goes on his rampage, because he still seems very resigned to whatever's going on. He's not fighting against any of this stuff. He's just like, whatever. But as soon as he sees people pushing Dwan around and the camera's flashing and he can tell that she's agitated, that's when he loses his shit. And it's like, yes, dude, go take care of all these little fuckers.
Yeah, he's like, you're messing with my woman. And it's kind of like the same thing where he raged out after she escaped with the snake, and he chased them. And then he rips down the 50-foot high wooden castle gates before he falls in the pit of chloroform. But you see that like his motivation for it's not even violence. It's like his drive to protect her that is motivating. And so that's why at the time where she's like, hey, it's over, let's go get a drink. Like, after everything you've been through in the last few days, do you really think this is over? And then, of course, Jack, in all his infinite wisdom, goes to make a phone call and leave her unattended in a bar that's completely empty, by the way. So again, no people around. So maybe they did evacuate the city and they just forgot to tell the audience. But he goes to make a phone call, and all of a sudden the door is popping open. I'm like, please tell me that's a giant monkey hand. And thank God, giant monkey hand. And she doesn't scream, she doesn't run. She's like, oh, well, I guess it's Kong time again. So I think she's softened up to the position that Kong is not going to hurt her, at least, but to not say anything until after she's fully in the grasp of Kong's hand, little suspect. But again, Jack has left the room. He's not like, hey, come with me while I make this phone call. I want to keep an eye on you. It's dangerous with a giant monkey running around smashing everything. We should probably stick together. Instead, stay right here while I go make a phone call. And then you see Kong's hand coming in the door, and you see his face peering in the window, and he looks so happy when he finds her.
Oh yeah, he's got the big smile on his face. That it's so cute.
Yeah, he's remembering what she looked like after the waterfall, and he's reminiscing. But Kong can be a little pervy in this one, and you know what? I'll allow it. It's a giant monkey. We don't know how he's going to behave. Like I said, he's on that island alone. He's gone through probably a lot of sacrificial brides. I don't know where they are, though, because it seems like the ritual is something that happens a lot, but I don't know where all those other people have gone at that point.
Well,
so maybe he does eat them.
Well, okay. It's, if we're going back to what was insinuated in the original, basically it's that all the other sacrifices, they were just the natives, but this one has blonde hair and is a white woman, and he's never seen that before, and so he doesn't eat her.
Gotcha.
Right. Now here's my question. So they've got this big altar set up on the island where they make these, the sacrifices, who knows how many times, but I mean, it has to be quite often, because they built the giant wall. They've got the giant penis lock on it, that goes through the holes. But when he first walks up to pick up Dwan, giant full-grown trees are getting knocked over and shit. Yeah. It's like, hasn't he walked through this multiple times? It did not make a lot of sense.
Yeah, you think a guy in a giant monkey suit did this?
It was clever.
It was. But even the trees, the scaling of the trees and the way they moved when he's shoving them around looked really, really good. Yeah, I guess I was just I wasn't stuck on it, but I was just trying to imagine a world in where these sacrifices happen on a regular basis. And I guess if he eats one of these people every so often, they establish that he's a fruit eater, and they try to put our worry at ease by repeatedly telling us that she's not in danger of being eaten, which it turns out is true. She's not in danger of being eaten because she's the exotic white woman in this case. But for her to come full circle and finally sort of like accept that Kong is not trying to hurt her, even though she's sort of like seen what happens when he gets angry, I think is like the first moment of any kind of character growth that we get from her, which is nice because even though I really like don't like her throughout the vast majority of the movie, she finds a way to still redeem herself enough to where I don't just feel bad for Kong in the end, I feel bad for her as well.
Right, because she's like you had said earlier, they're on top of the Twin Towers for for no reason. And they send in these helicopters, and oh my god, they're just like, I'm going to use like a common writer's trip and say they are bristling with guns.
Yeah.
Like they are very formidable looking, and the way that they're clicking and locking in on them, you can already it starts to put you on edge right there. But yeah, as he sees him coming, he's like, he puts her down and she starts crying. She's like, don't do that. Pick me back up. Pick me back up. And it's like, wow, that's at that point, she knows what's coming, and she cares about him because she knows that, yeah, he doesn't mean to hurt her. He doesn't want to do anything to harm her. She really does come around, and she's not a complete ditz at that point.
Yeah, she shows concern for somebody other than herself, I think, for the very first time in the film. And of all the people that she's interacted with, of all the people that have died in her presence or sort of in her general sphere of influence, this is the first time that she's ever been like, oh, wow, I'm like sad that something bad's about to happen. It was like, didn't a boat full of your friends explode? Didn't a bunch of the people that were on the rescue party to come get you die? And not once did you ever express any sort of concern or remorse over the fact that that happened. But now, finally, you've learned in the pivotal moment where you need to learn. And like that being said, like Jessica Lange is still very good in this film. It's just the way that her character is structured that makes her this way. But she plays it very, very well. And especially for a first time actress, like she has to still give us a lot of screen presence in order to make this work. And I think she still does a very good job of that. And when we're faced with the end of this film and how she's presented, how Kong is presented as her protector, and as you mentioned, the how the chopper shows up, and there's like a 30-second scene of this guy just like showing that his gun can move in multiple directions. So it's like they just want to tell the audience like Kong's about to get fucked up. Like this Gatling gun can go around corners basically, and it doesn't matter where Kong is located, we're going to be able to aim at him. But like the emphasis on that was surprisingly pronounced when it's kind of like, look, you didn't have to shoot him that much, I don't think, in that scene, because they're shooting him for a while. And I mean, like I said earlier, he's a big, strong gorilla. I'm sure one or two bullets ain't going to bring him down, but this is like hundreds and hundreds and hundreds of rounds that are just dumping into him for minutes on end as he's slowly bleeding out on top of this building. And he does, in fact, keep Dwan safe. So he does what he is, I don't know, conditioned to do, built to do, and be her protector in that moment. And it is very sad. And it was the sort of the sound effect of the heartbeat where I'm like, oh yes, I remember this very clearly now. And it's super sad. I mean, she gets down to the ground floor very quick after this event happens so she can stare into his eyes while he dies. But that aside, it is still very sad.
Yeah, I gotta say, I from what I remember, she was not treated well in the reviews and stuff of the time.
Wow, that's surprising.
Yeah, so, but again, it's probably because of the role that she was given. But everybody in the crew treated her like a little sister and was very protective of her and stuff like that, which is really cool because with all that shit going on around her, I mean, shit, she may have never continued. Also, I got to say, before we get to, the helicopters and all that, there's a pretty cool scene where I don't know, I guess it's the military shows up at the top of the World Trade Center, and they have flamethrowers.
Oh, that's right. Those guys. I remember, yes.
Yeah. And so there's a scene where they're shooting the fire at him and whatever, and he jumps from one to the other, which is, I don't know if that's really possible, but it was pretty cool. But then on the other side, he like picks up like there's a fuel tank on there.
Apparently.
Yeah, I guess that's I don't know what that's for. But he's throwing it at him, and these idiots are still spraying their thing, and they just explode. I mean, it was a really cool scene. I thought
it was. I'm surprised Kong was throwing underhand though.
Oh yeah, and then we get to the then the helicopters show up, and like you said, it's gratuitous, it's drawn out, it's gory, it's painful, and you really do feel for me. And like I said at the beginning, man, just please for God's sake stop doing that, stop. But they will not give up. But you know what? He did get in a good couple hits.
He did. He blew up one of them.
I think a couple of them. I know one he smashed with his fist, and it went down. And I think he got one more, but that was satisfying. I think at one point they even cut to Jeff Bridges watching from a window, and he screams out when it happens. And I'm like, yes, absolutely.
Yeah,
fuck those guys.
Jack finally turned the corner, and even though he did like give them the information they needed, where he's like, Kong's going to the Twin Towers. It's like, what side are you on, Jeff? I know that having a giant monkey rampaging around New York is not good for anybody, but if you want him back in the wild, probably don't tell the military where he's going to be. And then number two, when you say, I'll give you his location as long as you promise not to kill him, don't trust the military when they say, yes, we're not going to kill the giant monkey that's rampaging throughout New York City.
Yeah, and plus he's like, which dudes you get some helicopters with giant nets? And I'm thinking, where the fuck are they gonna get the giant nets from, Jack?
Borrow them from Japan. They use them on Godzilla all the time. But yeah, come on, Jack. Did they not teach you in Princeton that, you know, what they're gonna do in a situation like this, my man? I guess that fancy education is not gonna get you everything.
Oh, damn you, Princeton.
Damn you, Prescott.
So he gets downed, and we have Kong laying on the side of the building, and Dwan walks up to, I'm sorry, I said it wrong. Dwan walks up to him, and she's reaching out to touch him, and that's when he just kind of rolls over and falls off the building.
Yeah,
that part, I'm like, oh God, no. But as soon, I don't know if you noticed this, but it cuts to a shot from below the building, and you hear Kong, but he just materializes in midair.
I'm gonna have to go back and watch that again.
He doesn't show up until a third of the way down the building. I don't know how they left that in the film.
And whoops, too late to go back and fix it now.
I already spent too much money.
Maybe that was one of the extended scenes on the TV version where it's like you get to see him free fall all the way down. But yeah, by the time like he's there on the ground, he's like, his heart is taking its final beats. I was like, even with all of the ridiculous dialogue and some of the silly character choices and many, many, many ridiculous things that happen throughout this movie, the core element of what you're supposed to feel in the end still plays very, very well. And I was still very sad watching it. I didn't like sob, but I was like, oh man, this is rough. And I'm really sad for Kong right now because he didn't deserve this. And I'm like, freaking Dwan, I know that she didn't want him to die in that moment, but I'm like, her behavior is still very much complicit in his demise. So I was like, I didn't fully forgive her for her star-seeking behavior that ended up getting Kong killed. But, you know, it's a movie. I got to let it go.
Well, yeah. Well, and I think the movie wants you to feel that way about her at the end anyway. So again, part of the reason that we feel so much for Kong is all because of Rick Baker.
Yeah.
His mask work, his suit work, his acting in the suit, his eyes, behind the mask. If they had, just animatronic eyes or whatnot, there wouldn't be all that emotion. So, and then, yeah, at the end, and here's the fucking weird thing. So she walks up, somehow she miraculously teleports to the to the bottom of the building.
She took the same interdimensional portal that Kong took to the ground level.
Yeah. And it's sad and whatnot. And then the crowd surges in and everybody's like manhandling her again. And Jack is trying to make it towards her, and she's crying and she's screaming out his name. And he's kind of just like, fuck you. This is what you asked for.
Yeah.
Doesn't try to get to her. Basically kind of turns away from what I remember.
And and then the movie just ends.
Yep. That's it.
It's like, yeah, this is not a happy ending for anybody. Okay, thanks for watching. Goodbye, folks. I mean, bold choice to end the movie that way. But like I said, it's like, how much falling action could you really have? It's like they embrace, and like their love is the one thing that comes out of all of this, when they've already established that she's turned him down in favor of her acting career. And then when he's trying to save her from Kong, she's like, no, let's just stop and get a drink. And like her fascination with stardom leads her away from what is like a valuable relationship, the only valuable relationship that they show us that she has in the film. And even says to her in that moment, like, Dwan, shut up, I love you. And then she rejects him. So I can sort of understand like that not working out. And I respect the fact that they didn't try to piece that together for us in a way that kind of became cliche there in a lot of films.
Yeah. A couple things is we actually have, wow, we made it to the end, man. A couple things that I thought of that I wanted to point out was the name of the port where they started this whole trip was called Subaraya. Is that a real place? Because all I can think of is IG Susabaraya from the Godzilla flicks. It's not spelled the same. It's not.
It could be like an intentional callback to that, because I think where it was filmed was at a port in San Diego, but yeah, San Pedro, actually. So I don't know. It's in quotes as Surabaya, but I don't know that it's actually named that.
Is it? Where was that supposed to be again? Was that? Hold on. I'm going to try to do some research.
Well, the boat came back into New York, so I'm assuming that it departed from somewhere in the Atlantic as well. But I guess it could have, circumnavigated the globe and come back on the other side. But
oh, here's Subaraya sneaker cleaner. I don't think that's what we're looking for. I thought it was like in Hong Kong or Beijing or some kind of somewhere like that.
Okay, that makes sense at least.
Yeah, yeah. Well, maybe I should have done the research before I brought it up.
Yeah, maybe not. It makes for a more fun discussion this way.
And then one of the
speculation, my friend.
One of the things that I don't. Have you seen the movie Aquaman?
The recent one,
Jason.
Like 2017? Yeah, I've seen it.
Jason Momoa. I'm not a fan of it, but I did watch it. And they completely ripped off one of the songs from the soundtrack.
Oh, wow.
And because they play it throughout King Kong, and they also play it throughout Aquaman. It goes like this. It goes, dun, 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 dun. But as I was watching Aquaman, I'm like, they're completely ripping off the track from King Kong. Anyway,
interesting. I've seen that done. Like, if it's the same composer, maybe it makes sense. But if not, then it's like, okay, well, somebody clearly liked King Kong and just hoped that this movie was forgotten enough from 1976.
Yeah, it definitely not the same composer.
That would be funny if it was, though. I guess, you know what, like you said, we've arrived at the end. We got through so much, but that means it's time to go to Critics Corner, my friend.
Oh shit! Here we go. Let's hear.
Honestly, not that bad though. I mean, like, it has a 61 Metascore, not bad, and its overall IMDb user score is 5.9, but only 34,000 reviews. So not that many reviews for a movie that A, has been around since the 70s, and B, is a King Kong movie. Like, this was a big deal when it came out, but it seems like it's sort of been forgotten about, I guess. And I think looking at the Rotten Tomato scores that I had up as well, it was in maybe the 30s on both of those, if I remember correctly. Let me see. No, 53 tomato meter, 31 audience score. So generally not well liked, but these reviews are pretty good. So whoever organized this chart of reviews for King Kong was a fan, I'm going to say. So we're going to start with TV Guide magazine. They gave it a 25 out of 100. Without a doubt, De Laurentiis' remake of Cooper and Schoedzak?
Yeah.
Cooper and Schoedzak's classic is the biggest con job ever pulled on the unsuspecting American public. Is that just because of the animatronic monkey? Like, they went into it expecting to see a functioning 40-foot tall gorilla and they didn't get it?
I don't know. Did they not say more?
That's the end of that pull quote.
Well, I don't know. They could be talking about anything. They could be talking about, we were expecting a good King Kong film and we didn't think it was.
You lied to us. Okay, so we got 2 50s. One is the New York Times and the other one is the Chicago Reader. So you can choose whichever one you want.
Does it say who reviewed it in the New York Times?
Vincent Canby.
Oh, let's listen to Canby. Let's see what he has to say.
He gave it all of one sentence. Well, this is just the pull quote, but it says, "It's a series of big, foolish, but entertaining spectacle scenes." You know what? A lot of it is big and foolish and entertaining, and I think he liked it. I'm gonna say his 50 is a positive on his scale.
That's a cup half full.
Yeah, that's a cup half full right there, my friend. Optimus Unite, Optimus Prime, just like Peter Cullen. We're going to move on to, we got 2 60s as well. We've got Empire and Timeout.
Empire and Timeout. Timeout, I'm not too familiar with. Let's hear what they got to say.
Timeout. All right. I think this is a more recent publication, but it says
the
results of this technological bonanza are pretty mixed. That is such a lukewarm non-statement to make. I mean, come out and at least take a side, or just, hey, people seem to be mixed on this. Like, yeah, no shit. That's what we have critics for, to tell us why.
Well, some of it was good. Some of it was good and some of it was bad, Nick. What do you expect?
Well, I expect slightly more. Timeout. I think that is such a middle of the road non-answer. I don't appreciate it. So
yeah, that was a bad choice on my end.
No, it's not your fault. They are the ones that printed it. But just for fun, we're going to go to the other 60 and we'll read Empire. And this is Kim Newman. Says the lamest of the 3 versions, performances are bearable. So at least Kim takes a side there and she sticks with it. So I appreciate that. But she gave it a 60. So I guess she really thinks highly of King Kong. If the worst of the 3 versions can be a 60 out of 100, I'll take it. That's a 6 out of 10. That's not bad. Let's see. So we've got 175, and that is James Berardinelli. We've read him before on here from Real Views. Says De Laurentiis' Kong may not be a grand, glorious modernization of a classic tale, but it's 2+ hours of big scale, occasionally foolish entertainment. I mean, I don't understand how you say that and then give it a 7.5 out of 10 unless you really enjoy the entertainment, because I feel like him saying it not being a grand, glorious modernization of the classic story is inaccurate. Like, it's very big in its scale. It is modern. It's set in the 70s, so it's not a period piece either. So yeah, like it's confusing me to read that, but I'm glad that he liked it.
Well, I mean, again, he's going to be a more modern reviewer who's going back and watching it now. In the 70s, definitely, this was a huge event film and definitely achieved what he thinks it did not. But then that last part, what was it he said? Foolish.
Yeah, he said
something.
it is 2+ hours of big scale, occasionally foolish entertainment.
Yeah, it sounds like a turn your brain off at the door. And I'm not a big fan of that. I mean, yeah, you can kind of turn your brain off, but I mean, the movie should be competent as well. And this one is. It
Yeah, I agree with that.
it wasn't a flop. It was very, very successful.
7th highest grossing film of its year, but also the most expensive film of its year too. So
That's true.
maybe didn't make as much as it could have. But I'm not looking at the box office receipts. We're just here to chit chat. So we're gonna move on, and we've got, let's see, we've got 3 reviews between an 80 and an 83. So I'm gonna just lump them together, and I'll let you pick between the AV Club, Variety, or the New Yorker.
Who is the AV Club?
That is Keith Phipps,
I don't know who that is. Who's in Variety?
and is not quoted.
They're so important that they
Mhm.
don't even get their name attached. All right, so we got AV Club, Variety, and who?
The New Yorker.
Let's go with AV Club and see if they throw some snark in here.
All right, let's go, Phipps. He says, I'm still deeply fond of De Laurentiis' King Kong now. No doubt in part because we'll never see its likes again. Whatever the failings of its ape effects, they have a tangible quality that even Jackson's great CGI work couldn't fake. Way to go, Keith. Mr. Phipps.
Nice.
Yeah, he recognizes it, and I think has at least a similar view on it to how I'm feeling in looking back and just seeing like how much of this film was done practically and how much that actually brings to this story versus, doing it with a digital ape or doing it with stop motion ape. There is something about the physical interaction between the actor and the environment that I think you just can't replicate otherwise. It just doesn't quite come across in the same way. But I'm glad that Phipps liked it. He gave it an 83 out of 100, and we're gonna go to time. I think
Well,
what?
hold
Go
on.
ahead. Hold on.
You got to take a breath and let me talk, Nick. So I like it, yeah, because the practical effects and stuff, like even like you had said earlier, you thought that the Kong blowing effect had to Kong giving his blowjob, had to be like the giant animatronic. And it was really, that was Rick Baker and one of his many masks that he created for the suit. It's really impressive.
It is, yeah. I mean, like I said, I was like, oh wow, they built a huge like head here to fill the cheeks up with air, and I had just imagined that they did that all with some sort of compressor and pump, but to learn that in fact that was done just with makeup effects is super super impressive.
Sorry, go ahead.
It's okay. Now we're gonna go to time, and this is the top of the pyramid here. Richard Schickel gave it a 90 out of 100. He says the special effects are marvelous. The good-humored script is comic bookish without being excessively campy, and there are 2 excellent performances. He doesn't say whose performances are the excellent ones, so he's just going to leave that up to the imagination. But 90 out of 100, that's pretty good. And seeing the positivity in the reviews here, there's way stronger ones than there are weak ones. So I'm actually surprised that it got dragged all the way down to a 61 because it seems like the Metascore should be somewhere at least in the 70s.
Yeah, again, you started this by asking, why do you think that it is thought of this way? And first of all, I'm going to say the best 2 performances are Charles Grodin and Rick Baker.
Yeah,
But
okay, I could see that for sure.
What do you think is the reason why people think of it this way and think that it's a bad movie?
That's a good question. I think because if people at the time looked at this film and thought it was a bad movie, I would point to the writing deficiencies in the characters and be like, a lot of this stuff is just happening because like it needs to happen, and there's no depth to the character writing, I think. And that for me is like a stickler of like, why are they doing this? Why is this person here? Like, what is the motivation kind of thing? Like, I could see that being a weak point. And then if you're like really turned off by the weird combination of giant animatronics and a guy in a suit, and sort of like the disconnect between those two things. I think maybe that could be an off-putting thing, but yeah, aside from that, I feel like it was entertaining and goofy at times, but aware of its goofiness. So it wasn't like there's no way that the choices that Charles Grodin is making in this film, given the way that the character is written, there's no way that he's not playing it up, you know?
Oh yeah, and like you said, it seemed like the more that they went on, the more they were like, "Oh, this is good stuff. We gotta amp this up. We've got to we've got to
Yeah.
really turn him into a goofball." And they originally they weren't going to kill him at the end.
It's what I heard in like the test screenings. The audiences didn't like that he lived.
Yeah, well, I mean, he is an asshole.
Yeah.
But now here's one for years before this came out on DVDs. That's the first way I bought it. It played on HBO a lot back in the day. But the only one that I really remembered was that TV showing. And I always remembered Kong stepping on him and his hat being left on the ground.
Mm.
And you'll notice in this one that doesn't happen. It's in the TV cut.
Yeah.
So I finally got to see the TV cut again, and there it was. And I'm like, yeah, and it's pretty satisfying and funny. I wish they would have had that in the theatrical version.
Yeah, because I guess that they re-edited it to make it look like he got stepped on, and then they sort of just pull away at that point, and you don't. I was hoping to see like a flattened body, because it's like they had done so much practical effects work to that point in the film. I was like, oh yeah, you could easily have a completely like steamrolled flat body here, and it would be funny but also rewarding. So I wasn't exactly sure what to expect, but yeah, his foot comes up off the ground. You don't see anything underneath it, and just cuts away before you see a corpse. So
yeah, apparently originally he missed him with his step. And then I guess they kind of recut it to make it look like he actually did step on him. But they had already shown like scenes of while he's rampaging through the audience, you see like a group of like 6 to 8 people that Kong stepped on, and they're still wriggling around after he steps on him. It's kind of brutal.
yeah.
And
And he does, like you said, he chucks that one lady from the train.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, he only cares about one thing. That's getting that pussy.
He got one whiff, and he was hooked.
Giant kerchief, man.
Right? It was a cape, maybe. Or a
Like,
shawl.
it's like some people, like I won't mention names, collect panties, but he's gonna collect kerchiefs.
Back on Skull Island, Kong just has like a cave drawer filled with panties.
Islander panties.
Well, my friend, we've made it through the end. We've arrived in a state of delirium, but I want to give you the chance now to, of course, make a recommendation or something that you would maybe double feature this movie with. Something in the same neighborhood to help somebody make the leap to watching this, or to help somebody who has watched this see something else that's in the same neighborhood.
Man, the only thing that pops in my head, because it's just as much fun and it's just as goofy, is King Kong Escapes, which
one is that?
That's the one Toho did, where Kong fights Mecha Kong.
Oh, I've never seen that one.
Dude, it's so much fun. But yeah, again, there's he falls in love with a blonde lady who tells him what to do and whatnot. And there's also a guy in there called Doctor Who, but it's not that Doctor Who. And there's it's so much fun. And of course, this is classic Toho Suitmation. Just a lot of fun. I'm definitely not gonna recommend King Kong Lives, even though that's hilarious on its own grounds, because there's a giant heart transplant and a love scene between Kong and another ape. Maybe I will throw that one in there, but I'd say if you could find a way to watch King Kong Escapes, I do that. It's a lot of fun.
I just recommended King Kong Lives to Jamila because I don't even know why, but I was trying to explain it, and I'm like, I think she was asking me about Linda Hamilton because we had gone way off topic at that point. We were talking about the Terminator franchise and mentioned Linda Hamilton and popped up as being in King Kong, and it's like, well, wasn't Kong in love with Linda Hamilton? I was like, no, I think Kong has his own wife in that movie. So I was like, if you can see it, definitely see it. And yeah, there's a massive heart transplant. There's multiple romances across species. So good times. And it is the direct sequel to this film 10 years later. And I think Jeff Bridges is still in it, right?
No, I don't.
Who's
I
the
don't
lead
believe
in
it.
now? Is it?
Oh, what is that? He's not.
Is it William Hurt?
No. It's a guy
Let
that
me
we don't
see.
even really know. But yeah, Kong gets another giant ape pregnant.
Oh, well, Kong gets to live out his wildest fantasy. I
He
told you he was lonely on that island.
He finally got some.
Brian Kerwin is the actor that plays Hank Mitchell in
Kerwin.
King Kong Lives, and there George Antoni plays Lady Kong. So if you're into King Kong being as ridiculous as it could possibly be, check out King Kong Escapes and King Kong Lives. Both different sequels to different movies.
So Kerwin was in. I know that name, man. Can you tell me what I would know him from?
Yeah, I probably could if I open so many tabs and they get so small, and then when I go back looking for them,
Hey, I think there's an app for that.
there probably is. King Kong Lives. Let's see. Brian Kerwin. Yeah, like you'd recognize his face if you saw it. He was in 27 Dresses. He was in the movie Jack, where Robin Williams plays a 40-year-old, 10-year-old.
Give me some low budget B shit, man. That's what I'm gonna know.
I gotta go back further in time to find that. Let's see. Let's go to the 70s and find out. He was BJ and the Bear was a TV series. He was on an episode of Chips. He did some Love Boat. He was on Logan's Run series. Wet Gold. That sounds fun. Highway to Heaven. He was on an episode of Murder, She Wrote.
What about movies? These are all TV shows.
Yeah, I know. Well, all right, fine. He got King Kong Lives in 86.
Before that, I'm so bossy.
Well, I'm looking before that. It's all TV shows.
Oh, huh. Could have sworn I knew him from something else. That name is just so familiar, but maybe it's just
Hard Promises came later.
Could just be from King Kong Lives. I saw that at the theater. And maybe my mom take me to that. It was. Just remember him smashing the Lamborghini. My dad's gonna kill me.
I want to watch that right now. Actually, I need to see if it's available somewhere. But
it's also like a driving plot point in the movie The Big Hit, which stars
King Kong Lives is a plot point in that movie.
Yes, it is.
Oh wow, I've seen The Big Hit, but it's been a long time. I need to connect the dots. Double feature.
It's got Lou Diamond Phillips and who's the Marky Mark.
That's right.
Feel it. Yeah, he's like he rented it from Big Top Video, and the nerd keeps calling him saying, Melvin Smiley, you've had our copy of King Kong Lives for blah blah blah. Return it now, or I will kill you.
Wow.
So at the big climax, his whole thing is he's trying to return the videotape while he's being hunted down by killers. What a stupid movie. I love it.
Oh man. So it seems like I've got some homework to do if I really want the full King Kong experience. But it looks like King Kong Lives is on the Roku channel with ads. So hey, it's available.
Oh, that's cool. Yeah.
But speaking of fun things, you're doing some fun things, and you got your first episode of the show up and published, the Cinema Shitshow. Congratulations, my friend.
Oh, thanks, man. I mean, it's taken us almost a year, I guess, to finally get to the point where we could put something out. And yeah, I surprised Ben. I was just like, yeah, this is going up. And he's like, what? I wasn't prepared. I didn't watch it more than once. I haven't had any sleep. Like, fuck it, dude. Who cares? And we put it out there unedited and stuff. But hopefully people enjoy listening to us to be idiots, talking about Final Prayer, aka the Borderlands, which you can catch on Tubi. And yeah, we've got more on the way, and we'll probably finesse it a bit after that. But yeah, please come grow with us at the Cinema Shit Show. By the way, the movies are not the shit show. It's me and Ben. Just to clarify that, because we do talk about good movies sometimes.
Yeah, as evidenced by him not sleeping, not watching the movie. Is this the one that he didn't watch all in one sitting? He watched it over three sittings.
3 days it took him to watch the damn movie.
Yeah, so you show up sleep deprived, having watched the last 20 minutes of the movie and unprepared to have a full form discussion on it. And I mean, that's pretty on brand though. I'll give you that. I did listen to it and it was fun. I had a good time with it. I'm excited to see sort of like where you guys choose to go with things and how the show grows from its infancy. And of course, if you have, questions or you need help with stuff, I'm here. I will put the link for it up in the show notes for this, and then I can retroactively also put that up in the show notes for the other episode that we did on Showgirls, which still right now is the most listened to episode of this show.
Sweet. Yeah, man. We're on Spotify and Apple, and we'll be on the other one soon. Yeah, Showgirls was so much fun, man. I listened back to it, and it's just so much fun the way the three of us bounce off of each other. I hope we do it again soon.
Yeah, we absolutely can. I know Ben was in the introductory stages of pitching me another movie, which I was like, well, what movie do you have in mind? He's like, well, I don't know yet. My friend wants to do it. So we'll find out. It's going to be a mystery to me. But one thing I know is it's not going to be Waterworld. God damn it. Somebody out there, please. This is, again, August. First of all, thank you, everybody that listens to this show, because August has once again been the most listened to month of the show for the second month in a row. It surpassed July already. So that means there's a good chance that somebody out there listening to this likes Waterworld. And if you do, please contact me, because I need somebody to talk to about Waterworld. And I heard potentially that a mutual friend of the film club might be visiting Los Angeles next summer. And that's a really good time to check out the Waterworld stunt show at Universal Studios. So I may have a immersive Waterworld experience on my hands in the not too distant future. But seriously, anybody, if you're listening to this, I'm begging you, Waterworld rules. Please talk to me.
Yeah, that live show is it's still going, because it's really, really impressive.
Yeah, it's the best thing at Universal Studios.
Well, they got rid of the Kong one, so I mean, but yeah, no, hey, I'm a fan of Waterworld, but I'll leave that for somebody else, because you and I got plenty of other stuff we can do together, and what have I been on here 4 times now?
We did Troll, right? And then we did the Showgirls episode, we did Hedorah, Godzilla, and now this. So yeah, 4 times, man. You're the king. You're the number one guest of the show so far.
Oh, I feel so blessed, man. I was so excited when you gave me a message and was like, hey, can you do a last minute thing? And I'm like, oh, fuck yeah, man. Absolutely. So hey, thanks again for having me on here. I love talking with you. It's always a joy.
It's always a good time, my man. Thank you again. I appreciate your time and for working with me on short notice, especially. I will make sure that I get all of the fine details of your show up in this show, so that way we can have some connective tissue between the two. And as far as I'm concerned, you're always number one friend of the show, my man. So please have a good night.
You as well, man. Love you, buddy.
Love you too, man. Take care.
Bye.
My thanks once again to Nix for stopping by the show and talking about giant monsters. You can catch him talking monsters and much, much more on his new podcast, Cinema Shitshow, and I'll make sure I have the links for that up in the show notes. And of course, thank you to everyone who took the time to listen to this episode. I know you have a lot of choices when it comes to podcasts, and I appreciate you spending your time with us. I hope you enjoyed the show, and if you do, please consider leaving a rating and telling a friend about it. And the new support page is live at ko-fi.com. That's ko-fi.com/badmovieswelove. I'd love to hear from you, so if you have a bad movie you love, and or maybe would like to be a guest on the show, you can contact me now at badmovieswelove@theshice.com, or Bad Movies We Love on Twitter and Instagram, and that's love with an LUV. And as always, take care, be well, stay safe, and have fun however you get your movies.